Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, stories from the 78 on my ongoing quest to prove that there's more to life in these fine United States than the East Coast and West Coast. You got the Midwest, my friends. And not only do you have the Midwest, but you're talking about the home of the blues and soul music in Chicago. You got Motown music, the roots of that out in Detroit. You got Nashville and everything else in between. So, a fine songwriter out of Nebraska, of all places, makes his home in Nashville. I'm talking about my friend Noah Floersch. He's going to be in Chicago here at the Beat Kitchen on October 10th. New album drops on the 3rd. I welcome him now to the stories from the 780. He also wrote a great song that has to do about Chicago. So we're going to ask about it now. Noah, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
You know what? It is a beautiful, beautiful day here in the Midwest. And I know you can appreciate that being from Omaha, Nebraska. When it's like late September and it's like 80 degrees. Hence why I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt. That is
Yeah,
also
baby.
Chunk, if you know the Goonies. You see
Oh
that?
yeah, Truffle Shuffle.
Yeah, that's his shirt he wore in the
Yeah.
Goonies. Anyhow, so
know
how you
ball.
doing, man?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. It's raining where I'm at. I'm out in Nashville right now. And it's been raining all day, but it's kind of a nice gray. You know what I mean? I enjoy it. It's ushering in fall in a pretty lovely way. So
Yeah,
I'm not complaining.
when you grow up in the Midwest, you appreciate the different seasons as they roll, right? So,
That's right.
did you have a good summer?
Yeah. I'm been pretty active this year. Getting out to the Harpeth River a lot with my girlfriend. We've been doing a lot of that. I play a lot of soccer.
Nice.
So I've been trying to stay outside as much as I can. All while trying to balance, this album rollout and everything else. So yeah, it's busy but good.
Right, the new album comes out on the 3rd, is that right?
That's
Of
right,
October?
October 3rd. That's right.
And you'll be here in Chicago at the Beat Kitchen on the 10th.
Yes.
Great place. Have you been there before?
I've not played the Beat Kitchen before.
You'll love it.
I'm really looking forward to it though.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a very in the middle of the north side of Chicago vibe. Really good music area. You'll love it. It'll be fantastic. Before we get to all that and the new album, I would love to talk about your upbringing a little bit and where you were doing the thing, right? You were recording music, you were putting it out there, and you're just doing, the thing to get by, working at, I think it was like an ice prep factory. What's an ice prep factory first?
Okay. So can I backtrack a little bit?
Oh,
and
please.
start with like the Omaha, or like at least the Nebraska stuff, and then get to the ice, because that's a part of the move from the Midwest to Nashville. That's like a big part of it. So I'll get there.
Sorry, I thought that was in Nebraska. My bad.
No. So this is in Nashville. So all good. So I born and raised in Omaha. Went to school down in Lincoln. Go Big Red Huskers. I'm a Corn Husker. And was raised that way too. I mean, everybody in Nebraska is a Nebraska fan. So that was kind of my space. And in college, that's when I started putting music out. I put my first tune out in like December of 2018 and started rolling like a song a month for pretty much until I graduated. There was like an EP here, and I did an album after I graduated. But then I moved out to Nashville with the guy I was producing all that music with, this fella named Ross Greet. And so we moved out to Nashville together, and I was paying rent and groceries and like beer money with just my music, which was pretty impressive. But this was back in Nebraska, so I was living with 5 other undergrad seniors in like this shitty little. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was this in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Yeah, this was in Lincoln. So it was a shitty little rundown house, and there were 5 of us. So keep in mind, my rent was like $350 a month. It wasn't anything crazy.
Oh, man, that's insane.
It was nuts. It was pretty cheap, and it was right by campus. It was just like a slum house. It was like not great, but it was, it was cheap, and we loved it. We had a great time. So I was paying that rent, and I was paying groceries, and I was paying beer money just with like stream revenue from the songs that I had put out up until that point, which was like, that was a big deal for me at the time. I mean, I was still working at the university and whatever, but when I moved out to Nashville, I mean, rent out here is a little bit ridiculous. So I needed something to like supplement that. I had to get some sort of a job. And this is where the ice thing comes in. So a couple months after I moved, I got this job at this place called Nashville Bar Alliance. And it was like a bar prep facility. So yes, there was ice on one side. So there's like two sides to this warehouse. There was
Mhm.
ice on one side, and this ice is pretty fascinating. Like talking about it and like learning about it. Basically, you're freezing these massive blocks of ice
Mhm.
and then table sawing them down into like super crystalline, pure cubes for like all the fancy bars in Nashville. And so for all these,
okay.
so you'll cut them into these blocks and you'll refreeze them and then you'll bag them the next day and you ship them out to all these different bars. So this Nashville Bar Alliance has all these different customers across Nashville and Chattanooga and a bunch of different places kind of locally. And it's literally just fancy ice for cocktails and things like that, which is crazy. It blew my mind that was even something you could make money off of. But it was a pretty impressive operation, and I did that part-time for a little over a year. And that like was enough to, again, pay the rent and the groceries and the beer money, and that was about it. It's not like I'm doing anything else really. And so for that first year in Nashville, which was like 2021 into 2022, I was working on music and I was doing that. And then around the fall of 2022, I'd been there a year. I was like, you know what? This is kind of wearing on me a little bit. The novelty of the job had like certainly worn off at that point.
Sure.
I was like, man, let me just see what happens if I quit and kind of like commit my time fully to the artist project. And about 3 or 4 months later, I wrote Goes to Chicago, and that kind of changed everything. So I certainly think like getting out of that job played a role in like the catalyst of like the artist project actually working. I think there's like something to be said there for like a leap of faith in a lot of ways.
Sure.
But yeah, when Ghost of Chicago happened, it kind of changed everything.
So how did it happen? You quit the job, you write Ghost to Chicago, you record it, you do your thing, and then what do you do with it? You just post it to like Spotify or YouTube, or
I mean, even before I had recorded a bit of it, I had written the first and second verse at my piano that I had in the basement of the place I was living at the time, and it's a Kimball. So Kimballs are made primarily in Chicago, at least the old ones.
Yeah.
And so there's a stamp on the inside. It's an upright, so you can lift the flap. And I was recording some stuff for some other song, and then was sitting down to noodle, and I ended up writing the first and second verses for this song, and the choruses based on the stamp, because it said, made in Chicago and like blah blah blah. And I'd never been to Chicago at this point, by the way. I'd never visited the city.
Grow up in Omaha, Nebraska, never been to Chicago. It's not that
I don't
far.
know.
It's like 5 hours.
It's not. It's an easy drive. And I when I was in university, I had so many homies from Chicago, but I just never been up there myself. And so I was out in Nashville. I had this flap open, and I was like, oh, Chicago, like that's kind of something. And I was in kind of like a, I don't know why I kept writing songs about ghosts, but I had like 3 or 4 songs about ghosts or like spirits or whatever. And so Ghost of Chicago just kind of formed very like naturally, and that was like the first line, and the chorus happened, and then the verses happened. And before I recorded any part of it like professionally, like in our studio or anything, I just like filmed a quick video of me performing it an hour after I'd written the thing, right? I just set my phone down and I played it, and overnight that video blew up like crazy. And so
unbelievable.
We had it was great. It was nuts. I had never had a video do what that video did. I was literally watching it as I was falling asleep that night, like passing 1 million views, and I was like, and I'd never had 1 million, and I'd never had 1 million views before. And now it's at like 12 million or something like that. But over the course of that, like next week, it was crazy. Oh, wow. And I'd never had anything like that happen before. I'd never really had that big of a viral moment. I'd had like little hops here and there, and I haven't had anything as big since. But that moment was wild, and I basically sat down with my producer at the time, and I was like, let's forget everything we had planned for this year. This song needs to come out ASAP. So we cleared everything from our schedules, and we recorded that song in a week and put it out 2 weeks later. because we wanted to,
That's quick.
it was a crazy turnaround,
Yeah.
submitting to DSPs and being like, yeah, this is coming out in a week and a half. I hope you guys can get it up by then. Was a scary thing, but I think it was the right play. Just to get it out with really proper immediacy was the move. And yeah, so that's been my biggest song for a couple years now, and I'm glad it's like one that I love. Like, I love the song. I think it's a really great song. I think it's adorable, and I think it tells such a lovely story. And I'm glad that's one that was so well received. Because I'm gonna have to play it probably for the rest of my life. so I'm glad it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, just ask the Stones if they're tired of ever playing Can't Get No Satisfaction. I don't think they really are going to be too upset about playing that one. And
That's
they
right.
have played it for a better part of 50 odd years. So,
Right.
yeah, I imagine, though, seeing it, like you said, falling asleep and going past 1 million followers, you were probably like, what in the actual fuck is happening?
It was nuts.
Like, what did you like? I didn't even like do anything fancy. I just put it up because that's what I loved, and boom, the internet found it.
I think there's something to be said for capturing a moment in time. Like, I set my phone down and recorded that performance, moments after this I had written those parts of the song. So there was still like a freshness and a novelty in my own mind that I think translated. Now, I would also assign a lot of that particular video's success to the nature of how that song starts, which is just like a slow tempo build. And I think for whatever reason, that's just like a big attention grabber. People are like, oh, what's going on here? I'm going to stick around. And so that obviously, fueled the fire a little bit too. But it was a happy accident. It wasn't like I wrote the song slow to fast to be like, this will get the algorithm cooking. It just happened that way. And
it's got some instruments in the final version that have almost like an homage to like an older genre of music. You hear them. I don't know the name of them. I'm an idiot when it comes to music, but you can hear the instruments where you're like, I've heard that in songs from like, the 50s. I can't remember.
There's some horn fanfare that happens in there that I think does a good job of that, like tipping the cap to like,
very
I don't
much
know,
so.
Some sort of like, I don't know, old timey Chicago-esque jazz thing, but I can't even claim that. What's funny is that night that I was watching the views go up and whatever. A gal had duetted, on TikTok, how you can like duet certain videos and add your own audio. So she had duetted the song and played a trumpet line, and I was like, do you want to put this on the final song? Because her video started going crazy too, and so people kept going to her and being like, put Trumpet Girl on the song, and going in my comment sections. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't want to bend to the will of the internet or whatever.
Sure.
But
it's my artistry, damn it.
Right. But it got to a point where I was like, oh, I do love what she played. So I hit her up and I was like, do you want to play on this song? And she was like, yeah. So it worked out pretty beautifully.
See, now that is the beauty of the internet. What you just talked about. You hear so much of how it is polarizing our country at the moment, and then you hear stuff like this where you're like, see, I got to believe in my heart that this is whoever invented this the way we are now, with how easy we are with social media. That is what they wanted versus what's going on elsewhere. So it's nice to hear a fresh and beautiful story. So thank you for sharing that story.
Oh,
It's a fun one.
It was such a treat that to just hammer home your point about like, the community aspect of that whole thing. She was not the only artist or like creator or instrumentalist who duetted that. There were hundreds of people adding their own spins to the original video. And what a treat for me, but also for everybody, because a lot of those videos did really well. Would add their own lyrics and whatever.
Sure.
And it became like such a moment that was so much bigger than me, but I was so like lucky to be, I don't know, some sort of a catalyst for it. It was really cool. It was a really cool moment in time.
Yeah, it was serendipitous, as we like to say,
Certainly,
right? Serendipitous moment. I imagine just with your background in music and having the passion to say, you know what, I'm going to do this thing for real, and then having that success, any of that your earlier years. I mean, I think I read that you're like one of six. Is that right? Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
like
right.
Catholic
Yeah,
family.
Midwest Catholic family, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine you went to church and you sang and there was a choir and you knew
Yeah.
people that were singing and like and I picturing this in like Omaha, Nebraska. And I have family in Omaha. I was just there not that long ago.
Oh,
And
nice.
beautiful, like they redid their downtown,
Yeah,
the
it looks
river
great.
area. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So like I can imagine like being this kid going to church with the family. I think did I read that your aunt was a nun?
My great aunt. That's
Your
right.
great aunt. Okay, yeah.
My great aunt is a nun, and my brother is a monk. I just a couple weeks ago said his final vows. He's at a monastery down in
Wow.
the middle of Oklahoma. It's pretty wild. We're on pretty different paths, but it was really you get to go see him. And he's got his head shaved, and he's got a robe on, and he's we're sitting through like a 2.5 hour Latin mass. It's a wild jump.
God, your parents got to be like, well, we got one kid in Nashville doing music. We got a monk here. I imagine your other siblings are like, great, thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah,
No pressure.
It's a pretty eclectic family. Yeah.
Did that have, I mean, what I was speaking to with the church functions and choir, did that just make you really fall in love with music the way that you have? Or was it just a part of it? And then just growing up in Nebraska and doing your thing with friends, family, or whatever propelled you to want to keep doing it through college and things?
So I didn't fall hard for music, or at least like music creation, until like 7th or 8th grade. So I wouldn't assign it so much to like the music that was coming out of like the churches I was in, or like, I don't know, my mom had a lot of like Caleb on, which is like the Christian radio station. So there was certainly just like via exposure. Yeah, that's right. Certainly just like via exposure, like you're taking some of that in. But I always like really loved it. We would go on road trips, and it was like Fleetwood Mac CDs, getting and Dave Matthews when my dad's dropping us off to school or whatever. Now, when the choirs really started to come into play was high school. My junior year, I did join choir.
Oh.
And that was a massive catalyst as far as like me starting to take music really seriously. I'd already been writing a little bit at the time and singing a little bit at the time and playing, but joining choir my junior year of high school at this all-boys Catholic school was like the big, it was a huge eye-opener as far as like, sorry,
what about that? Like the boys, the choir, like, was there a song where you're like, oh, I think I like this? Like,
oh, okay. So I've got a kind of an interesting story. So we did this thing every year called the Omaha Symphony Choral Collaborative.
Oh my gosh.
Omaha's got like a great symphony. What, you know
That's
something about
why
this?
I was there.
No way. You were just down there for the...
My cousin, his daughter's in that. Yes, 100%.
Get out. Okay, I love that. That is so full circle. Okay.
It is. Wow, that is.
So my junior year, we did Handel's Messiah, and it was like really arduous and like difficult to get through, and it was tough to learn. My senior year, we did Mozart's Requiem, which is this massive, incredible funeral mass kind of a thing. Now, here's the thing. As we're rehearsing for this, I'm at an all-boys school, so we're hearing half the parts the entire time. And then we go in for a couple final rehearsals for the symphony, like the week before the final performances, right? Where we get to hear the rest of the choirs and whatever. And there is a movement in that body of work called Confutatis, and it starts like it's like really like angry and manly, and all the guys are singing Confutatis, and it's like this. It's just this big heavy moment. With cello and bass and the fellas singing, and then it breaks, and the violins come in, and the ladies are singing, and it's like it's this really angelic moment, and you jump really quickly between the two. And I remember hearing it for the first time during rehearsal, with the entire choir. So we've got the ladies singing, and we've got the entire symphony playing, and I remember getting to that switch where the sopranos and the altos and all of them are singing so high, and the violins are playing it, and I like it. It felt like this wave of like, I want to be able to make something like this. I want to be able to make people feel this way. So that was a massive moment for me as far as like, um, I don't know. It became like a beacon of purpose in a lot of ways. Like that was such a interesting goal, you know?
That's great though. I mean, I feel like that does happen to a lot of people, but a lot of people don't recognize that it's happening.
Yeah.
And then it misses them, and then it doesn't fire that neuron to change the course of your life, right? Like people, either you see it or you recognize something like that, or you don't,
Right.
and you might be chasing it your whole life. So the fact that you saw that at such a young age, with a lot of musicians that have gone on to the success that you have at the age that you have versus other ones or what have you, it's a fun story to hear. So thank you for sharing. And I
Of
imagine
course.
I imagine just this entire career that is your music career has been a little bit of that. I mean, I was reading a little bit about some other influences that you had, where I think they were like Vampire Weekend or Mumford and Sons, and
Oh
listening to
yeah.
that and hearing that. I imagine hearing those bands going like, "Oh, I can do that. Like that's rad.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And I know
Yes.
I can."
Yes. Especially with like, like 7th and 8th grade when Mumford and Sons, like Little Lion Man was all over the
Oh
radio.
yeah.
I got a banjo. That was my first instrument because I was like, this will be, yeah, I'm gonna be just like these guys, you know. And I've
Marcus
still,
Mumford
yeah,
Square
I've still
Jr.
got it. I've still got it. I realized very quickly I'm not disciplined enough to be like a decent instrumentalist. I'll like fiddle my way through just about anything, but um, I'm not gonna shred like Mumford and Sons does. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, on an album in the future, you might be able to dust it off a little bit and play a tune.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
not a full album, but a
that's right.
tune as
That's
an
right.
homage. So you've done the well, and I guess in music it's never an easy part, but you've done a lot of the hard part, and you got yourself out there. People notice you. They found you organically before you even were really ready to put out a full like polished thing, and here you are releasing a new album on the 3rd of October. And correct me if I'm wrong, I cannot remember, but is Somebody Nobody Gets Over, is that on this album or was it on
Yeah.
just the last? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's the final single. We've had a couple other songs come out from the album already. We had a song called "Growing Everything Out."
Hmm.
We had a song called "Something About a Beer,"
Yeah,
and
that
then
was kind of a big one for you,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was a good little tune. And then "Somebody Nobody Gets Over" was our final single. And then full album Francis Aquarius is 10 days away, which is crazy to say. Oh my gosh. But I'm ready for it to be out.
A little bit of an alter ego kind of a release,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So my previous album, the one with Ghost of Chicago on it, was Noah.
Hmm.
And that it was really like the first album. I'd put out one before, but it was really the first album where I kind of knew what I was doing in a lot of ways. It felt like a proper introduction to like the kind of artist I want to be seen as, and the kind of artist that I just want to be in general.
Hmm.
And Francis Aquarius, in a lot of ways, is a follow up to that, or like an answer. So Noah, that album felt very like proud and very
Hmm.
like, hey, check me out, here I am. I'm on the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Francis Aquarius, while the music is like super fun and super pop, and it's doing things that I have not done before. It's like certainly exploring that pop space way more than I ever have before. The tone lyrically is one that harbors a lot of like insecurity
Hmm.
and shame, and it's a pretty close reflection to like some of what's gone down for me in the past like 2 years since that
Little
previous album.
autobiographical.
Yeah, it's here and there, and then there's obviously stuff that's inflected upon and blown up a little bit or minimized depending on what I'm trying to say, but it certainly is an alter ego in the sense that like I don't want people to like walk away with a lot of this music at face value. I don't want people to be like, yeah, this is like I don't know, you listen to a song, there's a song on there called Wild Thing that's like this guy seeing his ex with a new guy and being like, oh, you used to be so cool, you used to go out all the time, like blah blah blah, now look at you, you're all tied up and like whatever. I would never say that to somebody, like I'm not that kind of guy, but I've certainly like felt that before. I've been like, ooh, that's interesting, or like whatever. But it's of course coming from a place of insecurity. Now saying it out
Right.
loud and like showing some of like the, I don't know, dirtier parts of yourself is like a really fun exercise, and it made this album like pretty fun and like also difficult sometimes to write.
And I imagine terrifying to
It
write at
is,
times. You're
'cause
putting your soul
yeah.
out there.
But that's the thing, like some of these songs have been heard already and are a bit more, you know, like something about a beer and growing everything out and somebody nobody gets over. Those are, yeah, I'm bearing my chest a little bit. Now some of these songs on here are a bit more so. So I've got 10 days to like take a couple more deep breaths before I really show everybody kind of, you know, what's under the hood as far as this album's concerned. And that is a little bit spooky. You know, I don't want people walking away being like, dang, Noah's kind of a dick, you know,
Well,
like I don't want to be, you know,
well, I mean, I'm going to name two artists one artist in one band that have made a pretty good living. The first one, you mentioned them, Fleetwood Mac. I mean,
yeah,
they wrote about themselves, and the songs that they wrote about themselves, treating each other like crap,
That's
are
a
the
very
biggest
good point.
songs they've ever had. And then, of course, you have Taylor Swift, who writes about almost literally everything that happens to her in almost literal format.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, you can go with there and be like, well, it worked for them. You know what
that's
I
right.
mean? So, like,
That's right.
and it still takes a tremendous amount of courage to put something out there, whether it's true or not, just to put yourself out there on a platform either like this or on a record or on a streaming, whatever the case may be. That takes courage, and to put substance behind it, to give that courage some roots to grow into whatever this will grow. My friend, hats off to you, because that is a terrifying thing to do, because you don't know what the world will do with it. You just put
Right.
it out for the world to take it, right? And to observe
Right.
and absorb it.
Yeah, it is a big leap, you know, but I think it's necessary as far as like my own artist development and my own like growth, seeing how people react to things, seeing how I react to their reactions. This is all information that will like inform what comes next in a lot of ways. So it's exciting. But yeah, it is spooky. It is it certainly has its like scary, I don't know. There's any release is always a scary release. But
Yeah.
yeah, nature of the game. You kind of just got to eat it.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, look, Adele, another one who's written songs that were something really special that have gone on, or hell, Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters,
Yeah.
like some of the
Yeah.
stuff, and he's got some stuff to write about now for a new album, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But the album release, the Chicago date specifically is an album release show.
That's right.
Because you changed a little bit of your plans as far as the tour this fall, right?
Yeah. So we had a full tour lined up for some late September dates, and then took us all the way through to early November. And yeah, I had to pull the rug on the thing, which sucked. It was a very difficult decision to make, but it was a necessary one. Yeah, and it's just like when the decision was made, and it was made in part by myself and my management at the time, and my agency. You know, we made the call, and then the fallout, I think, was like the most difficult thing. It was like, okay, I have to like record a message to post to people, but before I do that, I have to hit up, you know, Gatlin and Kenzie Kate, who were the openers, who had their own bands, and it was just like, oh, the fallout from this is just, it's a messy thing. It's a messy thing to cancel a tour. Now, I've had a lot of people come up to me and or just in conversation about it, and be like, hey, there's a lot of other people, you know, canceling tour dates and canceling shows for this reason and that reason. Like, you're certainly not alone. It's not a difficult thing. And like, while I do take, you know, some solace in that, it's like, man, I would have loved to have been the exception, though. You know, like I would
Sure.
have loved to have like played all these shows, and it just didn't shake out that way. And right after it I was certainly in like a kind of a hole for a while. I was definitely like in my bed a lot more than I needed to be for like a week or two. But I'm on the ups now, and I'm looking forward to this Chicago show, and we'll have one in Nashville as well in early November. So I'm looking forward to that.
So is this your first time going to be in Chicago then? You mentioned earlier that you haven't been, but
Well,
was there a gap that you didn't mention?
I hadn't been to Chicago when I wrote Ghost of Chicago.
Got it.
Now I've been to Chicago a zillion times for shows and for other reasons. I was just at Lollapalooza. It was sick. Well,
oh yeah,
holy cow, that was crazy. I wasn't playing. I was just like hanging out and watching people, and it was incredible. But I played a couple shows in Chicago. My first one was Shuba's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a
And
rite of
that
passage, Shuba's.
Yeah, that's right. It was awesome. It was so much fun. But yeah, never done the Beat Kitchen. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and that will be October 3rd here in Chicago.
October 10th.
I'm sorry, 10th.
Yeah,
the album drops the 3rd.
That's right.
My bad.
All good.
And for folks that are interested in learning a little bit more about you or want to find the music, I mean, are you selling physical records too that people can buy?
Yeah, this is the first time. I've never done it before, but for this album, we've got vinyl you can pre-order right now, or if you're listening to this after October 3rd, you can just regular order it because it'll be ready for you. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
How old are you?
I'm 26. I'll be 27 in February.
So, I mean, you're a little bit younger than me, a lot younger, but what your generation, it seems to me that your generation has fallen in love with the physical vinyl or like the record, like tactile things, like versus maybe the generation that was right before you guys that kind of grew up with all streaming and it was still kind of happening. It's already here for your generation. And now it seems like when I go into a record store in Chicago, you know, I'll be flipping through records and I can be next to somebody in their 60s and their 70s and then a teenager and then in their 20s and 30s, you know, that's a bulk of them, a lot of them. So, and I asked, you know, like, you know, what do you, and they're looking at Fleetwood Mac or they're looking at like Hall & Oates or Lionel Richie and then new ones too. I mean, what is it about that? Is it just something that you guys didn't have? You're like, well, what the hell is that? I want that.
I think there's something to be said for the novelty of it or the I don't know, the trendiness of it. That's a dangerous thing to say because it's been something that's been growing pretty steadily over the past like decade or so. I think vinyl sales and CD sales are making a pretty interesting comeback. It's great news. It's great news for anybody who sells music because I think it just services everybody in the industry a little bit better when physical copies are selling.
Oh, I bet, yeah, especially over streaming.
Versus streaming, yeah, right. I mean, if like that's the alternative, then that's great news. Like if somebody wants to buy my stuff on vinyl, that's a huge win for me. That means a lot. One, because it's something that exists and is tactile and it's so special. Like I just got to like hold some of my vinyls for the first time like a couple weeks ago, and it was surreal.
I bet, man.
Yeah.
And then having your parents see that and your family, like I imagine they're like, "Wait, I'm gonna put this right next to Fleetwood Mac."
It's crazy, yeah. It's crazy. So it's a pretty cool phenomenon. I'm glad that it's happening. As far as like, yeah, its utility to like anybody who makes music, it's a good thing. It excites me. I can't diagnose why it's happening, but my guess would be my guess would be twofold. One, like the novelty of it, the like, okay, other people are doing this, let me get on this, why is this interesting? But two, I think that there is especially with Gen Z, at least I feel this way, a big yearning for authenticity in any kind of way. And like I look at what's working on social media nowadays, and it no longer is about trying to go super viral. I mean, obviously anytime anything goes viral, I'm like, awesome, love it, glad this is happening.
Yeah.
But usually what works, or at least what I've seen what's working like lately, is like just pretty honest and like well captured stuff, you know, that doesn't feel so manufactured or doesn't feel so, you know, commercial. And I don't know if that translates directly to like this, you know, influx in vinyl sales, but I think it harkens back to a time where there was a bit more I don't know, authenticity or maybe mystery to who an artist was. That's certainly a time that like I yearn for. I don't want to have to post content the rest of my life. I'm doing it right now because you know, it's out of necessity.
Amen. Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe in a way, like vinyl and physical copies will free me from that burden. Who's to say?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned why you think the recipe is what it is of what is seems to be doing better on social media about people being their true selves or authentic. And then I hear the story that you told me about the ghost of Chicago, and that's exactly what you did. It was authentic, it was raw, it was just there, and the world found it. And here
Yeah.
you are now, a few years removed from that, and you got your new album coming out, and you're going to do these album release parties, and this is just the beginning for you. So I think you got a little bit of, I think you understand it, even if you didn't at the time. You were part of that, and now you have an actual physical copy record
Yeah.
coming out. So
Yeah.
full circle there too, my friend. So congratulations.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
So, and folks, that they can find all that stuff coming out on the 3rd. And is there a website you want people to go to just to find out a
Yeah.
little bit more about you?
Yeah, you can go to noflourish.com. I'm also, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I'm anything that's a social media, I've got it. And then yeah, any DSP, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Come see
Right
me.
on, man.
Yeah.
And I caught you in. Are you like in a home studio? It looks like that's a music microphone versus a.
This is my you're in my room right now, but I have a
Nice.
little we do have a home studio just down the hallway, but this is my sketch zone.
I like
So
it.
I've got a little Scarlett I'm hooked up to here, and yeah, this is the mic my parents got me I think it was my senior year of high school or freshman year of college. And it's kind of been a pretty similar setup. So if I'm like sketching stuff out, I like to be here. Got my college keyboard right here, that kind of a thing.
Right on, man. Everybody's got to have their thing,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that very much. Noah, it has been a pleasure talking with you. I look forward to the show here in Chicago on the 10th of October.
Right on. Right on. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate